Hello, One Troy, and thank you for tuning in to our Welcome Back event as we kick off the 2021-2022 school year. We have an exciting day ahead of us, but first, let's put our virtual hands together for Troy School District Superintendent, Dr. Rich Machesky.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's truly exciting to see you all here this morning, and quite honestly, many more of you than I thought we would see this morning. So it makes the start of the school year feel like normal. And so I want to thank you all for being here, and more importantly, thank all of you as well who are watching across the school district. It is a great time to return to our schools. It's going to be a great school year with so many opportunities. And I welcome the opportunity here this morning to speak with you about what we can anticipate during the course of this school year. The most important is that we are ready for you. You need to know that our buildings, our classrooms are ready for you. And I want to thank a few individuals in particular for readying our school district for all of you and your return. Starting with our maintenance and operations department this summer, we spent over $5 million on things like parking lots and roofs and doors and windows to assure that our facilities were prepared for you. Our technology department collected laptops, collected iPads, refurbished those, and are ready to redistribute those to students, our incoming kindergartners across the school district. A real exciting project in technology, refreshing our elementary teaching stations. We were able to get 4 of those stations four of those buildings completely done this summer. That's really exciting, and that work will continue during the course of this school year. Unfortunately, we ran into some challenges with parts and so forth in order to move that project forward sooner, but know that project will continue, and it's exciting as we think about changing the way we're able to interact with our students in our classrooms, starting in the elementary, and eventually moving that into the secondary as we think about the following school year. I want to thank our enrichment department. We were able to bring students back this summer, students back to both live instruction, to virtual instruction. We brought students back into our enrichment camps, our athletic camps. Great to see students in our schools, on our athletic fields, in our facilities, smiling, having fun, doing those things that we know youngsters love to do in the summer. Our preschool was open all summer, servicing students, and that's spectacular. And finally, our teaching and learning department. Our teaching and learning department never sleeps. They are continuing to work and prepare for all of you. So not only do we provide instruction over the course of the summer, both virtually and in seat for students, they worked all summer to be prepared for you and for your return. And specifically, we had the opportunity last week to welcome 70 new teachers, over 70 new teachers to the Troy School District. And that new teacher orientation that was provided by the Teaching and Learning Department as well as members of Central Office was just spectacular. In fact, had an opportunity to sit down with a number of those new teachers and just see the excitement in their faces, the excitement in their eyes as they were talking about setting up their classrooms, as they were talking about their own first days as being students and how excited they were to return as teachers in the Troy School District. We are certainly all excited for you to return. We're excited for our students to return next Tuesday, and they will. Our students will return next Tuesday. And with that return brings a lot of different feelings. First and foremost is excitement, right? You remember back to that first day you started as a student, how excited you were, how you set that outfit out, probably a week in advance. And you think about when your first experience as a teacher, that first day. He's thinking about setting up your classroom, thinking about meeting your students, just the excitement of that experience. I don't know about you, I never slept the night before school. When I started teaching, I never slept the night before going into my classroom. And honestly, I don't sleep the week before starting the school year. Starting with last night, it's an all-on press to make sure that we're prepared for the start of the school year. But I think we also have to be honest, and we have to acknowledge there are other feelings that are out there that many of you and our students are feeling as they think about returning to our schools this fall, a week from today. Uncertainty. We can't look past the fact that many of our students, many of you, feel uncertain about what the school year will bring as we think about the previous 18 months. And with uncertainty comes fear, right? And fear is real. It looks different from each and every one of us, but the reality is that fear is real. And many of us have fears about what the new school year will bring. I don't know about you, but there were times last year in particular where I was very uncertain about my own abilities to do the job. The inadequacies, feeling somewhat inadequate at times. Do I have the ability to make the right choices? That I have the ability to continue on a message? Did I have the ability to continue to support the organization through some very challenging times? And certainly many of you felt inadequate at times. I will tell you that there's a quote that I really like, and it comes to mind often, and that quote is by Teddy Roosevelt. And I think I shared this with you last year, with many of you. I think I shared it in an email, actually, sometime probably late winter, maybe early spring. I think it was at a time, quite frankly, where I was really struggling with my own decision-making, wondering, man, is this really the job for me? It just so happened to coincide with the same time when I actually got my 30 years of service credit. So for those of you that are in the room or in the audience or listening, you know that time where you got your 30 years service credit. It's like, wow. Not only now I don't have to think about, do I want to do this or do I need to do this job, but now I can really think about, do I really want to do this job moving forward? Because I'm at that point in time in my career where that opportunity is available to me. So honestly, though, thinking about those challenges that were presented to us last year, this quote comes to mind. Those of you that know me or know a little something, I'm actually a history teacher by training. I did my undergrad in history and really love history. I love biographies. I love historical nonfiction when I read. And Teddy Roosevelt is actually my favorite historical figure, which is another connection to this particular quote. But I keep this quote by my desk. And again, I shared this with you all last year for a number of reasons. It happened to, I happened to pull it out and look at it again. But it reminds me of why we do what we do, why it is so important, the work that we do. And as you read this quote, it's never before in education, I believe, we have never before been under such scrutiny by the critic. We've never been under such scrutiny by the critic. Within our arena, in our arena are your classrooms. It's our schools. It's our boardrooms. But what gives me hope is knowing that we are spending ourselves in the most of worthy causes, daring to fail greatly. And isn't our role as educators, isn't our role as supporting educators, isn't our role as developing our children the most worthy of causes? So I refer back to this quote so often because I think it has always spoke to me, and I think today it speaks even more to the importance of what we are doing. No matter what, in this organization, we have never failed to get up. Right? We have never failed to meet the challenge. We have never failed to stand up for that worthy cause. And that worthy cause, to me, is our why. There are two things that have really kept me going over the course of the last year and a half. And those two things are first and foremost our why, the most worthy of causes, our mission, ensuring learning for all. We are by nature, all of us that support our schools and our students, we are by nature service-oriented individuals. We are servant leaders. We care deeply for our students, and we care about one another. We believe in our why, and our why has and will continue to be in the Troy School District, ensuring learning for all. I want to just take a moment and tell you all, those of you in the audience, those of you watching, regardless your role in the Troy School District, I am just so proud of everything that we accomplished together last year. Whether you came on during the course of the year to support our elementary principals and doing whatever it is that they needed, whether you picked up our students in the morning with a smile, always with a mask on, whether you cleaned our lunchrooms after having students in and out multiple times during the day, whether you taught virtually, whether you taught hybrid, whether you taught concurrently, whatever you did, whether you supported the individuals in our organization as leaders within your building, departments, our board members who constantly showed up at board meetings and made, in some cases, decisions that were not shared, that were not favored by all. Regardless your role, we all showed up. And we didn't just succeed, we exceeded those expectations. And for that, I'm forever grateful. The other thing I think we learned during the course of the last 18 months is we can take nothing for granted. We can take nothing for granted in education. It used to be we could assume that every fall students were going to show up, everything was going to be fine, we were going to go about our business, we'd spend 180 days in school, we'd graduate those students at Oakland University, everything just kind of went along as it normally went along, and we realize now that's not the case any longer. But as uncertain as what lies ahead, I can tell you that I truly am looking forward to this school year. I know for sure that students will return next week, a week from today, on the 31st. I know that both you and our students, right, will be wearing their masks, and I know that's not popular to some. I get that. I understand it. I don't particularly care to wear it myself. But the fact of the matter is it's a short-term inconvenience to assure that we can sustain our learning community for the entire school year. So that we can be together this entire school year, doing the things we do best, supporting our students. I know that there is nothing the coming school year will throw our way that we haven't already tackled. Or nothing will come our way that we will not handle with both patience and grace. You know, when I think about our why, I reflect on all of those things that we have accomplished over the course of the last 18 months. And it's truly spectacular, and you are to thank for that. You know, the second thing that kept me going during the course of the last 18 months, and this is going to go back one more, Carrie. There you go. And this may come as may sound a little strange, but bear with me here because this is really important. What kept me going over the course of the last 18 months was the importance of our vision and our strategic plan. Now, I know that might sound a little strange. You know, after all, what kept you going, certainly it was your family. Many of you don't know, I was fortunate over the course of the last 2 years to have 3 grandchildren. So certainly for me personally, my grandchildren kept me going over the course of the last 2 years, many of you have had similar experiences. My friends, certainly, my colleagues, my professional networks, my team in central office, some of my best friends kept me going during the course, personally, during the course of the last 12 months or 18 months, and you can all certainly point to those individuals in your lives that kept you going. But I want to focus for a minute on something more systemic that supported our organization, and that is our strategic plan and our vision. You know, a clearly articulated vision, World Class 2020, provides hope. It provides hope. And it has literally pulled us through the challenges of the last 18 months. Our strategic plan provides direction and has provided direction, and it has helped us focus our attention to do a few things really well in order to support our learning organization. Never underestimate the importance of a clearly articulated vision and a strategic plan. It's only when you don't have them that you realize that you need them. And it's when you have them you realize just how important they are to your organization, regardless the challenge. I'd like to spend some time just the rest of the morning talking about our strategic plan, our vision, and how we're at a point now where it's time to refresh. I want to take you back to 2014. And the reason it's important to take you back to 2014 is because, believe it or not, since 2014, we have hired 47% of our teaching staff. You think about that. Since 2014, almost half of our teaching staff is brand new to the Troy School District. Over 50% of our administrative team since 2014 is new to the Troy School District. So I think it's worthwhile to take just a couple of minutes and think about and talk about what we were doing in 2014, how we came to our vision, World Class 2020. So over 5 years ago, back in 2014, we started with a challenge, and it was a very simple challenge. We challenged our learning community to dare to fail. And that meant that anyone was welcome to stretch themselves, to look beyond what they were doing, be creative, take something they were doing in their classroom, do it differently, whatever they wanted, without risk of failure. In fact, that failure was encouraged. At that time, we listened to hundreds and hundreds of individuals across the organization. We wanted to hear, what was it that you loved about the Troy School District? What are those things that you felt we needed to change? And what were those things, how could we support you in that end? So we listened, we synthesized that information, and at the same time, we set out to answer 3 important questions. The first was, what did it mean to be world class? We knew that was a theme that continued to emerge. But what did it mean to be world class? In order to find out what it meant to be world class, we had to go out and we had to ask people. We had to investigate. We had to research. And that's exactly what we did. We didn't just research here in Michigan. We spent some time with some districts in Michigan. We went outside of Michigan to the United States. We even involved ourselves in an international cohort, the New Pedagogies for Deep Learning, which is where we actually received the majority of the theoretical framework around our strategic plan. So we know we needed to research what it meant to be world class. We knew we wanted to focus on doing a few things better than everyone else. What we had heard was there are grandiose plans that strive to do many things, but the reality is, with constrained resources and the law of diminishing returns, it was most important that we could focus on doing a few things really well. So we set out to find out what were those few things going to be. And lastly, we heard loud and clear. I know I heard loud and clear from all of you that concerns that you had were that we were fragmented as a district. We had islands of excellence all over our district. We had schools that were doing great things here and here and here, but we were doing wonderful things in isolation of one another. So how could we move beyond being a system of schools working independently to becoming a school system working intra-dependently? This notion of systemness, understanding that no matter where you sit in the Troy School District, you are met with a highly effective teacher. You are met with ambitious outcomes. And that teacher is leveraging research-based instructional strategies that we know work, that support student learning. So that was our challenge back in 2014. So those of you that weren't here, that's where we started this whole journey. Fast forward to today. It's 6 years later. It's time to refresh that vision. It is time to refresh that strategic plan. If it's not broke, don't fix it. What process would we use? So over the course of the last 7 months, we decided to start listening again to what you all had to say. How was our strategic plan doing? Were we meeting the mark? Was it meeting your needs as an organization? Were we still focused on the right things? And I have to take a moment and give credit to Chris Griefor, who our Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Instruction. Chris has been driving this work over the course of the last 7 months. So Chris, thank you very much. But we use that same process. Let's listen. What do you need to tell us? What do we need to know? A few things. We knew we wanted to build on the successes of our previous 5 years because we have had tremendous success. In fact, I would argue nowhere in the history of the Troy School District have we been more successful than over the course of the last 5 to 7 years from an achievement standpoint, from an internal growth capacity standpoint. We knew we wanted to strengthen our system to assure that all means all. We like our mission because it resonates. All does need to mean all, but we know we need to strengthen a system to support that. We also knew and heard that we need to continue to do a few things better than anyone else. That resonated. People recognize we can't do everything. We certainly cannot be everything to everyone, but we sure can do a few things better than anyone else. And what were those things? How could we focus on them? And then lastly, this notion of systemness resonated. Right? This notion of being of one Troy. No matter where you sit in our district, we need to make sure that you're met with ambitious outcomes, that we're utilizing the best instructional strategies to support you, that you're met with the most highly trained teachers. All of those things resonated. So, let's talk for a few minutes about moving from Strategic Plan 1.0 to Strategic Plan 2.0. Our strategic plan has served us well over the course of the last 5-6 years. It has certainly done what we asked it to do, what we expected it to do. And truth be told, when we first started, we expected we would likely retain this same kind of format of our strategic plan. Maybe we adjust those pillars somewhat. We certainly adjust the goals, right? The outcomes. We knew we had to add some additional components. We knew we had to add accountability measures into our strategic plan. There were certain things we knew we needed. So truth be told, we thought from the very beginning, when we started this process, we'd probably end up with something very similar to what we have. But after listening to you for 7 months, we realized that our strategic plan was likely going to look a little bit different. It was going to go in a little different direction. But keeping in mind, most importantly, how could it evolve while continue to serve our One Troy community moving forward? So, I'd like to just take you through the 1.0 to the 2.0. So, starting first, our green pillar. Why did we get involved in that green pillar to begin with? Why did we choose that? We chose that because we believe, based on the research, that high-quality early childhood experience was necessary, was one of the most necessary things for youngsters coming into kindergarten to be successful. So we went all in on that. We started with about 75-ish, 76% of individual youngsters coming to kindergarten having had a preschool experience, maybe not all the same high-quality preschool experience, but at least having an experience. In the fall of 2019, over 90% of youngsters coming to our kindergarten classrooms with a high-quality preschool experience. And that's certainly worth celebrating. We built a new preschool. But it doesn't stop there. We don't just build a building and expect they'll come. It's about what happens within the building. It's about the individuals that work within that building. What we learned was that focusing on early childhood was extremely important, but when we listened, many of you said, I don't see myself within that green pillar. What does it mean for a high school teacher to live within that green pillar? So, after listening, we came up with the following. What we heard you say is that it's important that we demonstrate all learners and that they're represented pre-K through 12. So what that means for us moving forward, we're not going to stop focusing on and investing in early childhood education. We're going to continue to do that. We're going to strive towards 100% of kindergartners coming into our classrooms having this experience. But we also know this is a great opportunity to create what we're going to call a through line, pre-K to 12th grade and beyond 12th grade to post-secondary, where we work to identify those key attributes for learning. What are those opportunities that all students need to have in order to expand college and career pathways for middle and high school students? So what might this look like? How do we make sure that a youngster in elementary school believes that they can be a teacher, believes that they can be an engineer, that they can be an electrician, they can be a doctor, they can be a gamer, right? They can be in advanced manufacturing, they can be a home builder. We make sure that youngsters believe they have the ability to do those things in elementary school by making sure that everyone has access to opportunities that develop those feelings within them. So that's why we committed to our Media 2.0, to provide opportunities for youngsters to get involved in STEM programming, STEAM programming, computer science, robotics. All lead to opportunities as we progress through middle and high school in our areas of career and technical education. And it starts with us also making sure that we are thinking about all students. So our underrepresented students, girls, our students of color, are we making sure that we're providing them the same opportunities to engage in these high-quality experiences, to believe that they can be tomorrow's scientists, they can be tomorrow's mathematicians, they can be tomorrow's architects. All students deserve that opportunity, and we're going to work through this green pillar to make sure that they have that. We're also going to develop this thing called a portrait of a TSD graduate. What is it that we want our graduates to look like when they leave us? We're going to think about that. We're going to build out that portrait, and we're going to work towards making sure every student is provided the opportunity to see themselves as a portrait of a graduate, within that portrait of a graduate. Our red pillar. Why did we get involved with that? Well, I'm going to tell you that honestly, 6 years ago or so, this was the last thing we did. We really struggled with this one because how could we think about ways in which we could attend to well-being? Because it was about 6 years ago the field really started talking about the importance of well-being in education, and we've all known it. right? We've all known if a student feels connected to their school, they do better academically. I mean, we know that as educators inherently, but the field was just starting to talk about it. How do you enact that? How do you find ways to purposefully make that happen? So we scratched our heads. We thought, we visited with some school districts, some high-performing school districts across the United States that were struggling with the same thing. We sat with the superintendent from Minnetonka, Minnesota, high-performing school district. He said, you know, Rich, we're struggling with the same thing. This is kind of what we're thinking. And we said, that's interesting. We can do that too. So that's where that red pillar came from. And certainly we've seen accomplishments. We've added adult supports. That was one of our key goals. We've added counseling support at the middle and high schools. At the high schools, our goal is to get back to where we were pre-2011. Next year, we're going to add social work support at all elementaries. Every elementary will have a full-time social worker starting next year. We heard you say that was extremely important. Adding those adult supports that support all students and their needs. In particular, recognizing the challenges that we're going to face as our students return to us, in some cases, not having been in school for 18 months. We know there's going to be challenges. We want to be prepared for those challenges. Our schools that have been focused on being state and national schools of character, wow, that just emerged from this. You know, we're doing this work. How can we have an external organization come in and say, yes, you are doing this work, and you know what, you're doing it really well. Your kids are telling us you're doing it well. Your adults are telling us you're doing it well. Your community and so forth. And we have seen our schools run with this. And this is not everyone must buy. This is everyone should when you're ready. Everyone should when you're ready. And we're here to support you as you maintain that journey towards being a state school of character and then ultimately a national school of character. And lastly, something to celebrate is our equity and inclusion work. We didn't specifically call our equity and inclusion work out in this red pillar. I don't think we knew at the time exactly what to call out, but we knew there was something there. And we knew we had to explore that. So with that in mind, we can celebrate the fact that we have advanced our equity and inclusion work, allowing every student to begin to see themselves in our work, to have a sense of belonging in our schools. Extremely important. So we can celebrate that. Work has started, yet we've got certainly much more to do. So what we learned the importance of well-being is connected to student engagement. In fact, you cannot have achievement without an intensive focus on attending to the well-being in our organization. One does not happen without the other. So where does it bring us? So what we heard, certainly, that you said, many of you said as we listened, you know, the blue and the red pillar need to be integrated. In fact, many of you said, we need to have this purple pillar, I think. That it's so important, they're so alike. Maybe it's just, maybe they come together in this purple pillar. So we listen to that. We need to find ways that, importantly, as we saw equity and inclusion emerge, we need to find ways to have equity and inclusion represented across our pillars. That was something also that you said. So what does it mean? It means that we will work to increase staff to support well-being. It's not just enough where we've come from. We have to continue to find creative ways to expand that support. We want to continue to invest in opportunities pre-K-12 that support the whole child. In the Troy School District, we believe in the whole child. We want to find opportunities for before, after school activities. We want to find opportunities in the fine arts that students see themselves and their ability to be creative. We want our students to continue to excel on our athletic fields. Whatever it is where they find their connection, they find their sense of being, we want to be there to support the whole child. And we want to strive to capture student voice as we measure the impact of staff and student belonging. We need to listen to our students. They are our most important constituents. We need to listen to them. What are they telling us? What do we need to learn from what they're telling us? That will help drive our work in this red pillar moving forward. Our blue pillar. Students themselves told us, thinking about students there, staying on the theme of students, our students themselves told us that they are most engaged when they're connecting their learning to their world. Yes, they will comply. Yes, they will do the work. But the reality is they're better when they're connecting their learning to their work and their world. We certainly have many things to be proud of in our accomplishments here. We demonstrated risk-taking. Many of you demonstrated risk-taking. You did things that you wouldn't have otherwise thought to do. We created partnerships. We've created university partnerships. We created partnerships outside of our organization, the City of Troy, Nature Center, Michigan State's Master Gardeners, Oakland University, Michigan State itself, and the Education Department, the Teachers College in Columbia, just to name a few. And we can be proud of that. We also leverage technology. We started 5 years ago with a 3-8 one-to-one environment. Now we are K-12. Some of that was thrust upon us with the challenges associated with the pandemic, but nonetheless, we met that challenge. And all of our community is connected. You know that last year we worked diligently to make sure that everyone in our community had reliable access. Because that's important. That's an issue of equity. So what we learned. What we learned from you about the blue pillar is that the language was not being used consistently across the district. You know, we heard that kind of early on. You know, what exactly does it mean? You know, you got these 6 C's, and yeah, we believe in the 6 C's because they're easily integrated into our classrooms. I mean, who doesn't want a critical thinker in our classroom, right? Who doesn't want a student that is a good citizen, and so forth, and so on. But we were struggling a little bit with the language and consistency around that language. So we heard that. We also heard you say, you know, it's hard to measure the blue pillar. And I agree with that. It was hard to measure it. How do you measure risk-taking? I don't know. Many of you stood up to the challenge, for sure, but you made some great points. So with that in mind, we wanted to think about the blue pillar in a little different way. So, what we heard you say is we need to be more specific in our learning outcomes. How do we know we are succeeding? We had to ask ourselves, how do we know we're succeeding? We must develop a common language. So we have to be more specific. We have to be more concise. And we have to communicate that effectively across the organization. So what it means for us moving forward, a few things. Access to deep learning is imperative for all students, for all children. Access to deep learning is imperative for all students. We need to look at all of our systems and make sure that we are allowing access. And more importantly, that we're not inadvertently not allowing access. There's a difference there. That means we think, we look, we help across the organization investigate all the work that we do through the lens of continued equity, doing what's right for kids, for all kids. Creating and sustaining a system of support at all levels that deepen learning and empower students. You know, we do this really well at the elementary. We've developed at the elementary a great process of supporting students, the multiple tiers of support for students. But we're now starting to see the benefit of that. How does that look at the middle school? How does that look at the high school? So part of our work is going to be, how does that translate across K-12 in an effort to support all students and allow them to their voice to be heard? And then finally, to pursue global best practices in all content areas. We cannot stop our own learning as an organization. Okay, we never arrive at world class. So it's our continued work towards what does it mean, what do we learn from the field, from our peers, from those outside of Michigan, continue to look internationally, because our students will ultimately thrive in a global society. We have to look at what's happening outside of the walls of the Troy School District in the United States. And that's part of deepening learning. That's part of that blue pillar as we move forward. And lastly, and you'll notice that these are a bit out of order, and they're out of order for a reason than what you've been used to, but our goal pillar. Hey, we believe in adult learning, and that adult learning drives achievement. We said that from the very beginning. We're going to invest in you because we know the better you are, the better outcome for our students. So we certainly can be proud of the fact that we committed to high quality professional learning across all subject areas. We invested in job-embedded professional learning. Every teacher in our school district had an opportunity to be engaged in high-quality, job-embedded professional learning. And we know that transforms practice. It's the shoulder-to-shoulder learning that adults do that transforms practice. We could be proud of our learning partnerships with universities and districts across Michigan and the United States. We had over 50 districts from Michigan and the United States come and visit the Troy School District. They want to know, hey, what are you doing? And that's important because that allows us to continue to collaborate, expand our network of influence, not just here in Michigan, but outside of Michigan, outside the United States, and again, even internationally. What we learned, though, is we need to expand these opportunities throughout the organization. We were admittedly very focused on adult learning as it related to teachers in our classrooms. Okay? Admittedly. That's where we started and focused our attention. And what we heard from you is that, it needs to go beyond just the classroom teacher. Yes, that's important, and we continue to focus on that, but it needs to go beyond that. So what does that mean moving forward? What we heard you say is that we need to prioritize learning for staff. Continue to do that, but include all staff in that, as well as our students and our community. We need to bring all constituents to the table. We also need to continue job-embedded professional learning, because again, that is what transforms practice. So what it means for us moving forward: providing more intentional professional learning that engages our community. That includes our students and all staff, with the goal of co-designing. So bring all of our constituents together and let's co-design impactful experiences to be better as a community. So when you put that all together, thanks for the graphics, Gary. It's perfect. When you put that all together, this is where we land. Looks different from 1.0, but looks similar in some cases. 3 key things that we wanted to make sure that we represented in this, that we heard from you, that we represented in this new design. The first is that world class is not a destination, right? We don't just get there, right? Unfortunately, it would be great if it does, right? What's the goal? Am I there? I'm good. Kick back, we're done. But the reality is, world class never ends, and that's where we move towards a globe. We recognize there is no beginning and there is no end to our journey to world class. It's a constant iteration. What are we doing? Are we making an impact? What do we learn from that? How do we change that? How do we start over again? It's that constant iteration. So, the globe. Secondly is, you told us we need to find a way to bring these together. Pillars, as good as they were, somewhat in isolation of one another, didn't always move horizontally across as they needed to. We need to find a way to tie this together. And we tossed around many, many ideas with respect to this. And where we landed on is what is important to us. What is the center of our work? The center of our work is our people in One Troy. So we want to put the center of our work at the center of our vision. Hence, the Troy School District. And all of those individuals that make up our school district, our One Troy, are part of the center. Draws it all together. And lastly, what we heard from many is that, we've got our mission, which we like, ensuring learning for all. We got our values over there, this thing some people have referred to as the hubcap, right? It's kind of over there. And we reference it regularly, right? But then we have this vision, our strategic plan. Is there a way we can bring all of those together in one document? So that's what we've done here. Our values along the bottom. Collaboration, deep learning, focusing attention. None of that stops. That continues to be a lens through which we do our work. With One Troy at the center and our vision surrounding that, world class for all. So we bring it all together in one neat document. Yet, that's not all. So this is where you come in. All right, the work is not done. We don't just create the document and we're off. The work is actually just beginning, because we're going to ask you, many of you, to collaborate with us, to co-create our goals. I shared with you just kind of some general themes around goals for those pillars. We need you to work with us and co-create what those goals are going to look like, as well as setting measurable performance indicators. How do we know we've gotten there? How do we know we've met this goal? So we need you to collaborate with us, help us set clear goals with performance indicators that ultimately allow us as an organization to hold ourselves accountable for the work. You're going to be a part of that. And that's what's really exciting about this iteration of our strategic plan moving forward. The end goal is, and always has been, and always will be, how do we work together to ensure learning for all? So as we wrap up, we have grown as an organization, I believe, over the course of the last 5+ years. We are better in so many different ways. Who would have thought 5 years ago that all of you, well, most all of you, would be able to call yourselves a Zoom expert? Right? Let's be honest. 5 years ago, I don't think Zoom even existed. Right? But now many of you can call yourselves a Zoom expert. How many of you 5 years ago would have thought, I can teach to these kids live, I can teach to these kids on a camera, and I can get them to work as a community of learners, and they will learn? 5 years ago, no one thought that was on the horizon. None of you thought that was a remote possibility. But the reality is, the challenge presented itself, you stepped up, and you exceeded that expectation. Although our world has changed over the course of the last 5 years, there are 3 things that have not changed and will continue to be important to us in the Troy School District, and those are really simple. It's the importance of face-to-face learning. We know our students learn best face-to-face. We as adults learn best face-to-face with one another. We also know the importance of the community of our classrooms and our schools. We can't take that for granted any longer, just how important the community of our classrooms are, and how important those are to our students. Our schools, how important it is to our communities that we've got a school where students can come together, learn face-to-face. And finally, for me, one of the most important, kind of sums that all up, is the importance of connections with one another. We are a learning organization. We learn best when we connect with one another. And that's what days like today are about. Albeit we're not all here in the auditorium together, able to connect. We'll connect in ways over the course of the next couple of days, that will allow us an opportunity to grow as a learning organization. I can tell you that I am so excited about the coming school year. Let's hear from some of our colleagues across the district.
Hi, my name is Nora Mirza, and I am so excited to go back to my school, WASP, this fall as a third grader. I'm looking forward to learning a lot from all my amazing teachers, seeing my principal, Mr. Jansen, and having fun with all my friends, and just being at school with everyone.
Welcome back, Troy students.
This year I'm excited to see my teachers in person again and have a sense of normalcy.
I'm excited to get back to school because I'll be able to make new friends and connect with peers like I wasn't able to last year.
And I'm really excited to have in-person extracurriculars where I can make lasting connections with all my club members. Look forward to seeing all of you this year.
Hi, here at Leonard, we are so excited to welcome the kindergartners back to a new school year and have them back in person in the classroom.
It's such an exciting time of year, looking for new beginnings, and we're just so excited to be back together.
I'm excited to go back to school with all of my friends and meet my new teachers. I think that my school is really unique because it wants us to have a fun and positive learning experience.
I'm really looking forward to my kids having a more normal year this year, that they will be able to see all their friends. For me, I'm looking forward to being able to work at my office, hopefully, and not have to be home all the time watching them. So I think it's going to be a really great year. I'm looking forward to it.
Welcome back, Troy students, and this year I'm a 5th grader, and I'm very excited to do all the cool things that 5th graders do. And I'm also very excited to be a role model for younger kids at Hill Elementary. Have a great school year!
I'm really excited to be able to work together with my friends again and get that collaborative learning once more.
I'm excited to meet new people and getting to see my friends again.
Hi! Happy 2021 school year. I am most excited to not have to turn on my camera for Zoom.
And I am most excited to have all of you back in our classrooms.
I'm most looking forward to meeting my teacher and my friends, and I can't wait to learn new things. And I'm excited of seeing my teacher and going to a new school. I'll miss my teacher so much, but I'm so excited for Hamilton.
This year, I'm excited because we'll be able to have lockers again. And I get to be a part of the Links program, which I wasn't able to do last year.
I'm excited for everything to be back to normal and to have student council meetings in person and to try out for the sports teams.
I'm excited to try out for girls middle school basketball and for middle school volleyball.
I'm excited to welcome Barnard families back into the building. I can't wait to be reading books with everyone, watching friends play together on the playground, and enjoying being back at school.
And I'm really excited to start a new school year. I've seen lots of Barnard families and students over the summer and know that they are eager to get started as well. Can't wait to see this classroom full of happy, engaged, excited students.
Hi, Miss Fonsapas. Hi, Dr. DePonio.
Eloise is looking forward to be back at Costello and learning who her first grade teacher is going to be. We are so excited to get back to a new school year. We can't wait to see all of our friends and learn and grow and have a great year. Welcome back, everyone.
What I'm excited for this year is seeing my friends and my teachers face to face for the first time in almost 2 years.
I'm excited to start the new school year at Troy College and Career High School because all of our teachers have an all-in approach with our students. And we are creating some really new classes with blended learning, and our building is brand new, and we're just excited to get all of our students back here at Troy College and Career High School.
Megs, what are you excited about school this coming year?
Taking a field trip and having fun and playing with toys and playing outside for recess and having lunch at the cafeteria and making art. It's so fun. That's what I'm all excited about.
Thank you, Thomas, for putting that together. I mean, how could you not be excited? As you see that young man's enthusiasm, it is so contagious. It just reminds us of what it was like to be going to school for the first time. That first time, that excitement of every year being a new first time. You can see it in these students. You can see it in the things that they're looking forward to. And I trust that in all of us, we have that same level of excitement as we think about students returning next week. Over the next few days, you will have a chance to focus on the joy of learning, the joy of returning to your classroom. You will be able to refresh and rejuvenate your own practices, connect with your colleagues, and be energized. Later today by our keynote speaker, Jean Clinton, who has something very important to say to you about the focus of well-being, our own as well as that of our students. A little later in the morning in your buildings, you'll get a small token of our appreciation of your return, a world-class travel mug, a reminder, you can see it there, it's a reminder of our new vision moving forward, a reminder of the importance to refresh and take time to celebrate the excitement of a new school year. As we continue this journey together, you know that you are not alone. If there is one thing the pandemic has taught us, it's that we have to rely on one another. We can't do this on our own. I have no doubt that each of you can accomplish great things, but together, as one Troy, we are unstoppable. The best truly is yet to come. I'd like to take a moment and segue here and introduce for you our speaker for the afternoon, Jean Clinton. Now, Jean will be on at 10 o'clock, but since I have all of your attention here today, or this morning, I want to just share a little bit of what you should expect from Jean later this morning. So at 10 o'clock this morning, for our special keynote session, we welcome Dr. Jean Clinton. Jean is a clinical professor at the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Neuroscience at McMaster Division of Child Psychiatry. She is on staff at McMaster Children's Hospital with cross appointments in pediatrics and family medicine, and an associate in the Department of Child Psychiatry at Sick Children's Hospital. She is a fellow of the Child Trauma Academy, as well as a 0 to 3 Academy appointed as an education advisor to the Premier of Ontario and the Minister of Education from 2014 to 2018. Dr. Clinton is renowned nationally and internationally as an advocate for children's issues. Her special interest lies in brain development and the crucial role relationships and connectedness play. Dr. Clinton will be discussing the state of education in COVID times and the importance of staff and student well-being. She will also discuss how well-being and deep learning are inextricably, thank you, whoever wrote that, inextricably linked, and how we can support students in their development. It's truly special for us to have Dr. Clinton later this afternoon, or later this morning at 10 o'clock. Looks like you've got about a half hour to get up, get a cup of coffee before we settle back in to see and hear Dr. Clinton at 10 o'clock. Again, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for being here. It is going to be truly a great school year, and I can't think of a better place or a better group of people to be celebrating it with. Thank you all.